talking about extremism and violence and different interpretations, we have to talk about the moderate voices of Islam and why are they being drawn out in the public debate, why the public debate is dominated by anti-Muslims voices, but especially by extremists and violent groups, which, as you said, misinterpret the religious concepts of Islam. So why is there this domination of extremist voices, and is there any responsibility of the moderate Muslim community, or is there a lack of taking actions by the government and of the media?
Thank you. It's a good question. I think it's probably worth starting from a point of saying groups such as ISIS or al-Qaeda, a lot of their aim is to promote their content, their ideology, their worldview above and beyond anything else that is available, to the extent that they just produce so much material. And actually ISIS has really changed the game on that in the recent history. They've really produced so many different documents, videos. They made it look very modern, very appealing. They spoke about a lot more initially about the Islamic State as utopian perfection with markets and health services, and when they wanted to promote this perfection. So as a result of that, their information and their propaganda is very available. In fact, we've actually done some other research that looks at how available this kind of material is on Google, for example, on search engines, how available it is. And we've done that in comparison to the mainstream. And so it's important to say that there is a lot of mainstream material out there. It's definitely online and it's been produced for thousands of years, and it's all there. But I think it's just that with the promotion from groups, extremist groups, their material is very available. One thing that's worth saying about moderate or mainstream, you mentioned that in the question. Now, within our categorization of what the mainstream is, it's actually very difficult to draw a boundary on exactly what that is. On one side, you could say that the mainstream is what we would project to be the mainstream, so what we hope the mainstream of Islam would be. On the other side, it's a quantitative kind of mass selection of what the average belief is, if you kind of aggregate it and you take out the extreme views. And so we found that a challenge in our research. And I think the difference between moderate, in a sense, a moderate view, is kind of we chose not to go for that terminology, and we spent more time looking at the mainstream. Now you mentioned the role of governments, etc. Now I think if the governments in the West, for example, I think their role would be more to create space for mainstream people to promote their own content, and let the religious leaders who are credible speak up to counter this ideology.